the whole thing.
Yeah, I actually...
Okay, so by a show of hands, who here feels that violent video games cause violence? Well, a recent poll shows that 78% of Americans also believe that to be true. And it seems logical, right? Monkey see, monkey do. Kids see it, they're going to do it, right? But not so fast. I don't believe that video games themselves cause violence. I don't believe that they cause the violence we see every day. I think that video games get a bad rap. And I believe that the issues lie with the ones raising the children. Also, I feel that video games are one of the best preventative measures against violence. They allow a form of release. So, let's start by looking at ourselves. Human beings are inherently violent. There's no denying that. It's written in our DNA. You think back to when we were hunter-gatherers and it was necessary to track and kill just to sustain our existence. When we were raising our children, we're conditioning them to go against that natural right, against that primal genetic makeup. This can obviously be difficult. We have a responsibility to teach our children right from wrong, good versus bad, but more importantly, and beyond that, teach them why good is right and bad is wrong. If we look at some of the terrible things caused by our youth in the past, we find that one thing is consistent. There's no singular factor leading to these acts. Iowa State University psychologist Craig A. Anderson said in an interview with the New York Times that none of these extreme acts, like school shootings, occur because of only one risk factor. There are many factors. April 20th marks the 15th anniversary of the Columbine High School massacre. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold murdered 12 students, 1 teacher, and injured 21 more. The national consensus was that they were driven by the music they listened to, the games they played, and the bullies who tormented them. A summit brought together by the FBI, filled with renowned mental health experts, showed that they both suffered from opposing mental disorders that played off of each other and had an extreme hatred for the rest of society. Although much is unclear about Adam Lanza, the Sandy Hook shooter, it is true that he played violent video games. But it's also true that his mother purchased all of the guns that were used in the crime. He was diagnosed with both Asperger's and sensory integration disorder, and was beaten and bullied throughout his tenure at Sandy Hook Elementary. So the point is, there are many factors that came into play with what happened. In my opinion, it's more about the direction we choose to go in, given the media that we have, opposed to the media itself. If you watch a NASCAR race, does that mean that you're going to jump in your car and do 130 miles down 400? If someone crashes their car and hurts someone while trying to emulate their favorite driver, should we hold NASCAR responsible? I don't think so. Plus, with the popularity of these games, it makes it easy to form a link. Chances are, if a violent act is committed, the offender has at some point played a video game in their life. I checked online last night and found that Call of Duty Black Ops 2 has over 945 million hours played. This game has only been available since November of last year. That's a little over a year, and it's a pretty violent game, so shouldn't there be a lot more violent crime? If you still believe violent video games cause the violence, the best option would be to remove all violent games, right? I believe that would be extremely counterproductive. For many gamers, video games serve as a form of release, a way to vent aggression without actually harming themselves or anyone else for that matter. Children may not understand this, why they're playing the video games, but the numbers speak for themselves. Since the integration of video games, our society and our youth and the crime that's committed by them has severely declined. According to the Center of Juvenile and Criminal Justice, for most major offenses, youth arrest rates nationally stand at their lowest today than they have at any time in the last 4 decades, and perhaps ever. The youngest showed the biggest declines in nearly all forms of crime. It goes on to say that in 1960, half of all violence committed by teenage offenders were arrested for misdemeanors such as simple assault. In 2008, that number was more than 3/4, showing that the severity of their crimes has gone way down. This is based off of reports given by the FBI's Uniform Crime Reports. And so it all boils down to this. It is easy to look at the outside source and say, that's our problem. Well, we must look inside ourselves and ask, what can we do to stop the unnecessary violence and put forth our best possible future for America? Thank you.
Video games are awful.